Hey Facebook peeps. So this is going to be a quick video today on emotions and the importance of regulating your emotions, processing them, letting them flow, and you know, to heal yourself, basically, because if you don't feel, then you can't heal. And so I'll start with the ladies. So ladies, if you've ever done this, and I think most women have at some point, your partner does something that ticks you off and you don't say anything, so you just kind of stuff it down and you say, well, I don't want to be a nag, so I'm gonna let it go. And then they do something else like a week or two later and you stuff it down, you just let it go, but you don't really let it go, right? You know, you it's there, you know, you're just stuffing it down, you're not addressing it. And so you let all these things pile up. And then one day he does this little thing, it's not even that big of a thing, and you just explode and you start bitching at him for things that he did 6 months ago, you know, and you're throwing like 10 things at him, you know. And for men, you know, they're usually all about doing and fixing, and it's a challenge when you come at them with one problem, when you're like, you know, just bitching about one thing, you know, because they're scrambling, how do I fix this, what do I do? But when you hit them with like 10 things, they either, you know, they're going to go into flight or fight mode, you know, and most times they don't really want to fight with you and argue because they know they're going to dig themselves in a deeper hole. So they usually just, you know, run. They don't want to confront the situation. They shut down. So, you know, learning to regulate your emotions and address things as they come up in a healthy way, you know, is very beneficial to your relationship, so that you don't turn into the exorcist and scare the hell out of him, you know, because they can only take one problem at a time usually, and even that's like, you know, what do I do? I can't fix this, let me go paint the house, right? I can't tell you, like, my personal theory is that men that have really emotional wives, they tend to be the ones that are always fixing stuff around the house. They're always doing some kind of home improvement project, especially if they're past retirement age, you know, if they're home all the time with the wife. I can't tell you how many female clients I have that are always complaining about, you know, their husband being out of retirement and how it's driving them crazy. You know, they're like, he is tearing up my freaking house, he needs to go back to work, you know, because they don't know what to do. They're stuck home with an emotional woman all day, so they've got to fix something. They can't fix her, so let me go paint the porch or paint the house or, you know, do something. So, you know, that's kind of how men deal with their emotions. You know, women, you know, we stuff things down too, especially if we're in our masculine. You know, I was in my masculine energy more when I was younger, and I tended to stuff things down and just let things go because I didn't want to be a bitch or a nag, you know, so I just let it go. I was very passive, but I never really let it go. It just built up until he just did that one thing that was like the final straw, and I would explode and start bitching at him about things that he did 6 months ago. And he'd be like, why didn't you tell me this before? Like, why didn't you address it when it came up? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I'm telling you now. So, you know, I think a lot of women have been there. We've done this. But men do it too, you know, and it's oftentimes a lot unhealthier when a man does it, because they really explode with anger, you know, especially, you know, if they were raised in an aggressive environment. So if you're a man, you know, it's very crucial that you know, learn healthy ways to regulate your emotions, because if you keep stuffing things down and stuffing it down, and, you know, when that final straw happens, you know, maybe you've had a bad day at work and, you know, the spouse says the wrong thing, or, you know, the kid says the wrong thing, or, you know, she's like, go handle your kid, you know, I can't deal with this kid, go handle him. And you're already in a bad place, you're having a bad day, you might lose it. You might really scare your wife or your partner and your child. You know, like, there's a lot of men that do this. They go overboard with discipline, especially with their sons, because, you know, in the back of their mind, they think their son can handle it, for one thing. But for two, you know, they've let so much build up for so long and didn't process it properly, you know, as it was coming up. So, you know, so many times, you know, a dad will just explode on their kid and just, you know, go off and yell and scream and curse, maybe sometimes physically, you know, get violent. You know, and then later on they feel really bad about it. They're dealing with this guilt and this shame of how they treated their child. And a lot of them, they want to go in the room and apologize to their son and say, I'm sorry, son, you know, I've had a really bad day, you know, I mean, I took it out on you, and it's not fair. But again, that's weakness, you know, coming from the male mentality, you know, this conditioned belief that it's weak to show emotion. So they won't even go in there and apologize to their son, you know, because they feel like that's weak. So they stuff that down too. And then you've got the son in the room thinking, what an asshole, dad's an asshole, you know, and then they grow up with this, and then they take that into their, you know, relationships and treat their kids the same way. So, you know, I think it's the mark of a good parent for them to want to see their children have a better life than what they had, you know, and the only way that we can achieve that is if we're willing to do the work and process our emotions and deal with them. And so many men don't do it. I mean, women, you know, there's a lot of women that don't either, but you know, it's worse for men, because women know that, you know, when we do explode, it's okay, because we're just being emotional women, and that's what we do, right? But it's not okay for a man to do that, because when he explodes, it's scary. It's, you know, it's going to scare his wife. It's going to scare his kids. Like, why is dad so angry? Why is he just, you know, reacting this way? So, you know, for me personally, the way I process things is through writing and through music. So if I'm like having a really bad day, or, you know, there's a lot going on, and I'm emotional, and, you know, I feel like I need to cry, I sometimes like force myself and make myself. So I'll go put on some really sad music, and I'll just have, you know, this crybaby fest, you know, have my little pity party and just cry it all out. And then when I'm done, I'm like, are you done, bitch? Okay, good. Let's put on some rock music. So then I'll put on, you know, some Metallica or some Marilyn Manson, something, you know, like really heavy and empowering to just build me up. And I feel great, you know, I feel cleansed. I feel like it's all, you know, taken care of, it's done. And then what usually happens is that I move into this space of creativity, where I either write a blog or some poetry, you know, or something. And it's because I've released those emotions that I can now process things logically. Because when you're overflowing with emotion, it's really hard to think logically, you know. So once all of that's cleared away, now you can process a situation from a logical standpoint instead of an emotional standpoint. And you know, that's really important, especially with relating to children. So, you know, I encourage men, you know, especially, but, you know, men and women, you know, to really start finding healthier ways to process your emotions. Like, allow yourself to feel whatever comes up, you know, let the tears flow, you know, cry it out, you know, in however you need to process that. If it's music, if it's writing, if it's exercising, whatever it is, you know, do your thing, let it flow, you know. And then once you've cleared all of that out, you're going to see this space where you can just look at a situation logically, without anger, without you know, guilt or shame or whatever. You know, you could just look at it from a logical set of eyes. And, you know, we've all been there. We've all been like either the one that, you know, exploded and was overreacting about something, or we've been on the receiving end of that. And, you know, it's not healthy for our children. You know, we've really got to find better ways to handle our emotions, you know, so that we can teach our children a better way. Because men, if you can't cry and you can't be vulnerable and let, you know, your emotions flow, how do you expect your boys to ever learn how to do that? You know, if you want them to learn a healthier way and be better, then you have to teach them. And that means that you have to learn it. So if you're not there and you haven't learned it, you know, it's time to start working on that. You know, start, you know, diving into your emotions and and allowing yourself to feel, because we all have emotions, and you know, we're all emotional beings. It's just that men have been conditioned to believe that they're not supposed to, and that's not true. You know, statistically speaking, men don't live as long as women because they stuff these emotions down. You know, they're more likely to have heart attacks and, you know, and just, you know, general overall stress and anxiety because they're suppressing everything. So let's stop suppressing our emotions. Let's start letting things, you know, flow, feel it, and deal with things as they come up. You know, like I think women sometimes tend to, you know, to not want to discuss whatever's coming up for them because they don't want to sound like they're mothering their partner or they're being a bitch or a nag. So they just let things go. And, you know, with that I say use discernment. You know, I've written a few blogs on mothering versus nurturing. So just use discernment. You know, if it is something minor and you find yourself like wanting to say something, just stop for a minute and think, you know, is this something that I really need to, you know, have a discussion about? Or is this my own shit? Like, you know, is he really doing something wrong? Or am I just being triggered because of, you know, something that happened to me? So just, you know, be aware, being aware of your own emotions and things as they come up for you, and if this is something that you really should address, you know, and find a healthy way to address it. Like if you feel like it needs to be addressed with your partner, just find a healthy way to do it, because there's a big difference between saying, you know, I do everything in this house, you know, get off your ass, help me sometime, and then saying, you know, babe, I really need your help. I mean, I really need you to help me because, you know, I'm overwhelmed. So could you please help me? You know, it's going to have a different feel for your partner. So just be mindful of your words and your energy behind them and how you talk to that person. You know, treat them how you want them to treat you. You know, basically, you wouldn't want your partner to yell at you and just, you know, and come at you in this derogatory way and, you know, and just be aggressive. So don't do it to them. So yeah, that's a little video today on emotions, and just, you know, let them flow, process, feel it, heal it. You know, you got to process it first more than anything. Just let it, you know, let the emotions come up and see where they're coming from, and just, you know, flow with it. You know, it's only after you release it all that you can really process it logically. So don't really try to see the logic in it when you're crying. Just let it come out. You know, don't be like, why am I crying? Just cry. Just let it out. Just let it flow. And then after you've released and you feel like freaking awesome, you're like, okay, now why did that come up for me? And you're going to see it so much clearer than you would if you were like trying to process it while you're crying, you know. So, you gotta feel it to heal it. Y'all have a great day.